Hi, AT from CNC at Home. It's been a while since I've had the old 3018 Pro router going, and it needed resurfacing. My wasteboard was pretty bad shape, so I started out by pulling up my resurfacing routine, got that working correctly again, and am doing resurfacing. That made a huge difference. I have a plaque I want to do, and I have some new clamps that I want to try out. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. All right, well, we're off time lapse now, so that was a quick cleanup with the little vacuum. There's still a bunch of stuff in here underneath the wasteboards. I'm going to need to move that back out of the way. And there's stuff on the sides I can't get to with the sound box in the way, so I'm going to have to pull that up out of the way and get this cleaned up. The surfacing process worked really well. This is so smooth. That's really nice to have the wasteboard all cleaned up. So I'm going to do a little more cleaning, and then we'll get the box moved off. The container, I don't know if you can see this. It's packed pretty full up to the filter, so I'm going to get this emptied out first. That's pretty cleaned up. What I wanted to show is the new shortstop that I had gotten. These go into the T-slots. One of them is oriented so that it will go left and right, so it has this little channel that slips right into the groove. The other one, the groove goes the other way, so that'll sit in like this and can go left and right. What I'm hoping I can do is get something clamped in there tight enough so that it'll stay in there without moving. The problem is, what I've chosen is something that's too big. And so I can't put one on the bottom because I can't even get it to the edge, because the closest I would be able to get this would be about there. And the back of the material's off in the back of my working area, so that's not going to work. I do have room to get, the two of these set up on the sides like that. And if I get these tight enough, my hope is that these won't move around. Let me get that set up, and we'll see how that works. Okay, one of the problems that I'm having is the bolts that are used on this for the T-slot aren't long enough because I have such a thick wasteboard. Once I get it loose enough to fit in there, there's no more threads to grab. I may have to take the washer off to get this to work. Kind of tricky. Once they're in there, they'll be fine. Okay, just like one turn. Okay, I can still move that. What I did way back was I made myself a block. I machined a slot in there, and I have nice square edges, and I was able to put that on here, and then I could move it up or down or turn it this way, move it left and right, but not as handy as these little metal ones. If I'm really careful, I bet I can do this with the washer in place. I only need to get it started on the threads. There we go. So that worked. So let's go ahead and we'll crank this down on this side so it's nice and tight, and we'll push this way and get this one tightened down as well. Okay, well, it's holding in place. I don't think that I'll be putting too much lateral force on there, so that's a definite option to use these to hold or clamp something in place. I do have another clamp. Let me grab that. In the past, I used these monstrosities. These are great. They're very simple, and they're a bit on the big side for our little 3018. They do work. I did have to trim these bolts off as they were too tall. These are too short. These old ones are too tall, as they would hit the gantry up here. So I had to shave those off a little bit. These new ones are from Genmitsu. The T-Track mini hold down clamps, they came packaged very nicely. I did get these quite some time ago and I never did use them. So let me pull one out here. And it's a, it's a standard kind of T-rail clamp. It does have a little spring in here, so it helps push all of that up. And you can clamp something this way, where you use the short edge if you have something that's tall, or you can clamp it this way and you have something a little bit shorter. One thing that I don't like about these particular clamps is the spring. Even though it's kind of neat, the spring is bigger than my slot, so it kind of jams up in there. Also, the bottom T-nut is just threaded in, so as you're screwing from the top, you can actually be unscrewing or screwing in from the T-nut. So just something to keep an eye on or be aware of. This particular this particular cut that I'm going to do is mainly on the top portion of this. So that'll definitely hold it down. These two side clamps will keep it in place. Should be good. I was able to get this one on with the washer, so this one I should be able to do the same in the future. I do need to change out the collet, as I have my surfacing bit in here. So I'll need to bring that over where I can work at it. That's something to keep in mind. I've got my tool set up for surfacing way down here, and I can't get it out of the collet. Actually, this whole collet has to come out. So let's just take the whole thing out, see if I can do that. There we go. Because this is a 1/4 inch collet, and I need the 1/8 inch collet. So let's put that back in. Had to go look up to see what tool I had programmed this for, and I have this programmed for the 90-degree V-bit. So let's get that in there. This bottom collet nut is a 17 millimeter, and the top one is a 13. So I just have these handy for dealing with that. From this edge, we're going to want to come in 23.36 millimeters. So we're going to, from this bottom edge, we're going to want this to be up 56 millimeters. That will position our saying a little bit high. As it gets down there, right as it touches, 3, 2, 1, touch. And it backs off. Now let's see where we are. I take that down. See how we're doing. We'll go down to 0.1 millimeters in the Z. See if we're touching the paper or not. Okay, so we're not touching the paper, which is good. If I go down 0.1 millimeters, I should be in the paper. So we'll just go down, and we're in. Okay. So that should be a good 0. Alright, I've got my fingers crossed. Hopefully I have this in the right position. Hate to ruin this. Let's go ahead and start etching. Okay, right off the bat, I don't know where it just went. Do I have the wrong thing in here? Something's not right. I didn't set something, I bet. Good thing I caught that before it started engraving. Yeah, I never reset it. So let's get that put back to where it's supposed to be. What I forgot to do was to set that position as my 0. So we already have our Z set, so we'll reset the Y and the X. Now we should be good to go. Let's try that again. Let's get the little vacuum in there and see how that did. That was 19 minutes and 42 seconds. Put the lid up on top. I'll have a link for these down in the description too. Every 20-minute job is one broken bolt away from becoming a 3-day ordeal. I've got this extra space down at the bottom where I've got some bolts, various sizes. So here's like the top of a bolt, and then here's the bottom of a bolt. So those can just get positioned on here, maybe hot glue them or something to show broken bolt. And I got a bunch of those. Thank you to Warren for all of that. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Got a nice smooth wasteboard again. If you like the content of our video, think about subscribing, as that really helps us out. Enjoy doing your CNC at home projects. Oops. Ouch. Let's try this again. I've changed my parameter. Oh, it's not plugged in. Alright, let's try that again, but with the touch probe actually plugged in.